Hello, my name's Penny and this channel is Penelope's Chinwag. Thank you for joining me, and if you're new here, it's an eclectic mix of all different things. Sometimes a fascinating fact, sometimes a bit of counselling, sometimes a bit of family history, sometimes, last week it was about Agatha Christie, I think. It's all different, all manner of things, whatever springs into my head. Always crafting. And mostly always a little film at the end of what I've been up to this week. And this week I've had a friend come to stay, so the little film is just us strolling around. We've had some quite nice weather, and so it's down by the seaside. I live in the southeast of England in a little seaside, well, it's not that little, it's a seaside town. And this episode is going to be about looking back. Looking back because 3 years ago next week, actually on the 12th, that was when I put up my first video. And so I just wanted to look back and have a little ruminate and have a little bit think about it. Of course, for the whole of the 3 years I've been saying, in fact, I've just said it to Pete. Pete's my husband. I've just said it to Pete. I don't think I can do this anymore. And every week I say that. If you've been a long-term viewer, you've heard me say it before, and you've said, please carry on if you can. And of course, I've said to my darling friend Heather, I've got two friends called Heather, but this one is a good poet. And she's written me 2 poems, and she wrote them right way back. One's about episode 1 to 9, and the other one is about episode 20. Because I really every time said, I don't know why you want them, I'm going to stop. Do you do it if you have a YouTube channel? I'm sure you do. What am I going to put up next week? And, well, do people really want to watch it? And that's it. So I won't say any more, but as I say, 2 lovely poems have come from that. So I'm looking back and I'm going to read those 2 poems. And then I go straight on to Pete doing his desert island discs. Pete wasn't well for quite a good few months, but he's recovering now. And part of his recovery is to do some desert island discs and tap into his memory. So there's another one of those for you. And then I'll show you my crafting table, and then I'll come and say goodbye. So, hope you enjoy. Pen's YouTube vlog, episodes 1 to 9. I'm going to do a vlog, said Pen. Shall I, shan't I, that's its name. To chat with friends and family is going to be its aim. So word went out to chums and pals and those who knit and sew. Please listen to my vlog and then tell everyone you know. Oh, I've changed it all on YouTube, but can't remember its new name. Was it something about crafting? I've forgotten it again. How about spinning a yarn? Does that name sound okay? No, wait, there's loads called that already. You'll have to search for me all day. Which name she would decide upon? Well, she really didn't know, but the vlog would have to go ahead. She had loads of crafts to show. Pen delved into a box of whips we couldn't wait to see as she pulled out Tilda, Liberty, and some Ashmead EPP. Lynette Anderson's Storm at Sea, Kay Fassett's Tumbling Blocks, and we finally saw the completion of Pete's yellow woolly socks. We watched as Penny knitted legs, a head, a tail and ears, a cable jumper and some shorts, and Duncan Mouse appeared. With camera and husband Pete, on their walks they'd take us to, and show us birds and wildlife, a coast or country view. They walked around the lighthouse and everything went fine. They crossed the road and made it home without dialing 999. They took us on their outings into Broadstairs round the bay and to a country house where they'd enjoyed a lovely day. Turnstones, finches, parakeets and squirrels up a tree. No one watching could be bored. There was always lots to see. Pete's garden looked a picture. the flowers tall and bright, the moon from waxing through to full, a truly stunning sight. In the middle of the vlog one day, Pete darted up the stairs. His urgency had stopped Pen's vlog and caught her unawares. What on earth had happened? Would he tell a shocking tale? No, he'd just been to the grocer's and raspberries were on sale. We learned some fascinating facts. Amazed, we were aghast. Why dogs have got two noses and how gannets dive so fast. About miles and miles of DNA and cabbage butterflies, and how bats can safely navigate with teeny weeny eyes. Pen showed us handmade placemats and quilts that she had bound, a hat with lots of curlews on, and a rather wonky hound. She added in some culture, poems and stories which she told. With the different contributions, it was literary gold. Eva reminisced and told us her adventures from the past, each week her latest memoir, more exciting than the last. We loved to hear about her life, what wisdom we could learn from Penny's darling little mum with her newly coiffured perm. Pete was so supportive with suggestions and a smile. At the moment he was editing, Pen would wake him in a while. Her followers, they grew and grew from Ireland to LA. The subscribers and the likes Pen got were growing every day. She had never been so busy. Her days were chock-a-block, but still searching for the ideal name. She was working round the clock. She'd got it. What a perfect name. Her vlog, it was complete. She'd relax out in the garden now with the chickens round her feet. Now, every Monday morning, there's a new vlog, come what may, and a cry goes up around the globe. Hurrah, it's Chinwag Day. For Pete, Penny and Eva, August 2021, I can never thank you enough for these delightful vlogs. Heather. Thank you, Heather. It's so lovely to read. And there's lots of stories that you've reminded me of, you know. I'm always saying, shall I, shan't I? I have to think things over. Mum always taught me to sleep on it. And I really didn't know what I was going to call it. My granddaughter-in-law came up with a name. She said, have you ever heard of Chinwag? I said, of course I have. It means to have a chat. Penelope's Chinwag. I said, perfect. And I changed the name. I think it was episode 4 I changed the name. So I kept thinking of these names, but they didn't ring true. Yes, we went for walks. We still are doing those walks, and I'm still showing you the bits I've made, haven't I? And Pete did just wander up one day and just tell me how raspberries were, you know, on sale. And I said I'm in the middle of a vlog, love. Oh, it didn't seem to bother him at all. Things have changed a bit now. Because before I was just doing it, you know, for my friends and family during lockdown. So it didn't matter if he came up and told me about the raspberries. I think one day when I was doing Chinwag, he walked through the conservatory with a pipe that he had taken to bits just to show me how bunged up it was. I think it was the kitchen sink pipe. Anyway, he's not so bad now. Yeah, and of course Mum was on it and she was doing all her history, all her reminiscing. What a wonderful treasure that is for us all. And yeah, and Pete would never. I'd say to him, darling, could you just watch it back and see what you think? And I'd go in and he'd be sound asleep. Used to send him to sleep. It's quite true. So there we are. And I used to put it out every Monday. So, but then I changed it. I changed it to a Saturday. I'm never one of habit. And that's it. I think I'm doing it every 2 weeks now. And you get it when you notice it. So keep your eye open. And of course, it does talk about when we crossed the road and lost each other, which I think, well, it must be between one of those earlier episodes. I plucked up courage and told you that because Pete and I were indeed just crossing a road. I said, I'm going to cross up there. He turned round, didn't hear me. And when I I just nipped off and crossed up there because I wanted to cross where there was the crossing island. And he turned round. When he turned back, I'd gone. And it is quite true. In the end, he did dial the police and told them I just evaporated into thin air. And I'd never do that because I always looked after him. And I just wouldn't leave him. And I had come home and gone back, come home and gone back. We missed each other for about an hour and a half. And in the end, I did phone the police. And what we learned from that little escapade was that one, we were both okay. Two, the police were so pleased that it all ended happily. And three, never go out without your mobile phone, because that's what we'd done. We just literally popped out, didn't take our phones with us, and of course couldn't phone anybody, couldn't phone each other. And it was a big lesson learned. But I did pluck up courage and tell you on one episode. So I expect if you're a long-term viewer, you remember that story. Anyway, I'm going to read you. This one she wrote in November 2021. So I must have really then said, enough is enough. I remember saying it to her all the time. And this is called, because I'd done quite a bit of transactional analysis then, and explain what child and parent and all the different ego states that we have, which really helps with counselling, as I was a counsellor, as you know, for the NHS for some 20 odd years. But the point is, she's called this Penelope's Chinwag versus child and controlling parent. I'm going to press delete, sighed Pen. These chinwags have to go. Everybody hates them. Why did no one let me know? Why would people listen to my chat? It's such a bore. To have to watch each Saturday must be a hateful chore. I know it's simply ghastly and it really should be gone. I'll insist that YouTube ban me and refuse to let me on. All my crafts are dreadful. Tell me, who would want to see my knitting and my quilting while I'm slurping down my tea? People say they like it, but I know they want me gone. No one wants to hear me waffle on and on and on. I've just done Chinwag 20, and the views have grown each week, and that clearly means they hate me and can't bear to hear me speak. I bet the viewers meet online and laugh about my vlog and ask, who's going to tell her? And does Mila write her blog? That's my little great-granddaughter. They must hate every episode I've made them all sit through. I'll read you out some comments to prove what I say is true. So interesting. Please do some more about the DNA. The nature facts are lovely. I hope Chinwag's here to stay. Thank you, Pen. It's marvellous, exactly what I need. To view all your creations is a crafting treat indeed. It's the highlight of my week. I enjoy it oh so much. Your films are really special, though the Doric's double Dutch. Pen, we really love it. It's so interesting and fun. The episodes are brilliant. Yes, each and every one. How odd, thought Pen. That isn't what I thought the viewers said. I'll tell you how I thought these lovely comments really read. Please, no more. They're awful. We simply cannot cope. Give up on the podcast, love. There really is no hope. Your garden's a disaster with no butterflies or bees. Your pond's a muddy puddle and your squirrels all have fleas. It's all so dull and dreary. It just doesn't pack a punch. And we don't care how many fish fingers Pete is cooking for your lunch. We beg you, no more vlogging. We're bored and just don't care. Please disconnect your broadband. This is more than we can bear. Hang on, I've read them all again. Ah, now I think I see. If everybody loves it, then the problem must be me. Giddy aunt, it's clear as day. Why ever did I doubt? I've looked back at my TA notes and worked the whole thing out. Well, I can't be sitting here all day. I really have to run. I'm going to go and make a start on Chinwag 21. For darling Penny, please tattoo the above on the inside of your eyelids for future reference. I get it. I think this is episode, what is it? Episode what? Is it 100 and something? Hang on, I'll just have a look. So I've been obedient, Heather, and I've carried on. This is episode 116. Yes, and I'm just coming up to the end of my 3rd year. I hope you've enjoyed those 2 poems. I've really enjoyed listening. Not listening, I've really enjoyed reading them and bringing back those memories. I'll see you in a minute.
Come on.
Okay. Desert Island Disc.
Desert Island Disc again.
Yeah, it is. Let's see if we can get this one out. Now, he came running in last week. Our friend Francis was here, and he came charging in and said, I just suddenly thought of something.
Yeah, I thought
what
of
was
something. It was my dad singing to me when I was in bed.
Yeah.
And he always sang the same song, well, more or less.
And I think you must have heard it, mustn't you?
I
It's
don't know.
something that triggered that memory.
Well, it might have been, but I can't
You were
remember.
meant for me.
It just came into my head.
It just came into your head.
Yeah.
You were meant for me.
That's it. That's the one. Gene Kelly. And, what was this?
You. Excuse the voice. Nature.
Oh, crumbs.
I know. Just Google it. But it's from Singing in the Rain.
Singing in the Rain.
When he's
that's
singing
it.
to his, singing to her, and you were meant for me. I was meant for you.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's a beautiful song. Well, it's a love song.
Yep.
And you told me your dad used to sing it to
Yeah,
you.
he did. And I thought, I can remember it quite vividly, but I haven't for 70 odd years.
Yeah. But so there you are. You imagined you were going to be 3 or 4.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought I was.
Or 2 or 3.
Yeah. And then I was shocked when I found out when the actual song came out.
1952.
52. So I was 7.
7.
So I was 7 years old, being sung to by my dad in bed.
I know. Did it make you feel? I wonder, how did you feel?
I don't know really.
Yeah.
I thought, crumbs. There was me out at all hours.
Yeah.
I used to be able to go to the shops and run, say, to the sweet shop, which was quite a trek, about a quarter of a mile. I would just go on the park on my own.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was I.
You fell in the boating lake, didn't you?
I didn't fall in.
Oh, right.
I was pushed in.
You were pushed in?
Yeah, by one of my mates, believe it or not. I thought it would be funny. I was trying to get I think I might have had a little boat or something. I was trying to get my boat and he get in to get it, not leave.
You squelched back home?
I did. Squelched down. I could remember going down the hill.
Yeah.
And mum looking at me, she killed herself laughing.
Did
She thought
she?
it was funny.
So there you are, age 7, being sung to by your dad.
Yeah.
He used to get home from work a bit late, didn't he?
Well, yeah, he worked late then.
Yeah, hairdresser.
Yeah.
And that was the hours. And we talked about it, and really we've come to the conclusion that your dad was a worker.
Cool, not half.
Because, he had his own house when you were age 7, Norfolk Avenue.
Yeah.
And then they bought a bungalow in Potters Bar.
Yeah.
And coming from absolute nothing. I mean, when I met your family, your mum said, don't mention Pop's family, don't talk to him about his family.
That's really weird, that is.
Yeah, and then looking up on Ancestry, we realised, your nan was 37 when she had twins, out of wedlock.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing her, but
yeah,
I was small then.
yeah,
All I remember is she looked like Miss Havisham.
yeah.
Those hats
With a
they
little
used.
cap on.
Yeah, sitting in bed with all flowery.
Yeah. She died when you were very, very young.
I'm 4, I suppose, something like that.
Yeah.
I think We used to go on the bus to Tottenham, that's where she lived, and we lived in Bowes Road.
Because she was an artificial limb maker in Tottenham. You know, well, I mean, after the First World War, limbs were needed, weren't they?
They were during the war.
Yes, exactly. So, out of wedlock, not allowed to mention his family, you know, anything about it.
And he had a brother, a twin brother.
A twin brother.
Something else?
Yeah.
I never knew.
Right.
Really? Well, obviously not when I was young, because we've got pictures of him.
We have got pictures of him,
brother. But Dad said, when I asked him about him, he said, I don't remember, son.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything about him.
And he died
was
when
14.
He was 14, yeah. So his mum did a brilliant job bringing him up, because in the family we always called him the gentleman, didn't we? He was soft, he was kind, he was just adorable, really, wasn't he?
He never laid a finger on me.
Oh, no.
And the times...
He could have done.
He could have done.
What about the times in Potter's Bow when you used to stay out late?
I'd get tied up. You know, the Tottenham estate had been built,
right?
And I'd made a few mates up. They could all at school.
Yeah.
And so I'd be up there, which was the other side end of Potter's Bow. It's about a mile or so, well, more than that probably, walk.
Yeah.
To get home, and because I'd be there in somebody else, usually a girl's house with mates, and and they'd all they were a friendly lot, and we'd sit there, and the time would just go, and then the mum would say, "Come on, Peter, you better go. It's 10:30 or something like that. Oh, we better go." But one time I'd got this drum. I forget. I can't remember how I got it, but it must have been. It was a drum that someone had, but it had a split in the bit you hit.
The vellum type stuff.
But it was big. It was like one.
Oh, big.
Yeah, and I was coming home with it, and it was I don't know, about 10:30, and there was Dad coming to me. He said, "Oh, Mum sent me out. She's worried about you."
Oh.
But that's all he said, Mum. He said, "Not what you got there," or.
Yeah.
And he just sort of took it all in his stride.
Yeah.
And I think he even carried it home for the rest.
He was a very, very kind man.
Yeah,
very,
he was.
Very kind man.
Good old Dad.
Yeah. We'll see what you come up with next time.
Yep. That's one memory. Another memory gone.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was lovely. A nice memory for him, and lovely to remember his dad. His dad died in 2001, I think. Yeah, so quite a long time ago now, but yes, a superman, very gentle. So I'm going to read you a little bit more of my story. I haven't read you any for a few weeks now, I think, because I've been doing about Agatha Christie and different things. And something rather exciting happened, because on Ancestry, a friend of the time that I'm talking about, when I was 5, between 5 and 10, this friend, who I haven't heard of or seen really since, although she does remember meeting me in the 60s, but I don't remember meeting her. So we're going to meet up, and I look forward to it. But I've got some really strong memories, because where we lived in Tottenham, it was rather, it was an unusual little pocket of Tottenham. Anyway, I won't go into all that at the minute, but she lived in a little road that is now listed. The road is listed, Nursery Street, I think it's called. And I remember going round there and playing with her. I used to go around there a lot. And her mum, Mrs. Doby, was friends with my mum. And so I mention her a lot quite in the diaries, when I was going through the diaries with my mum. And I remember very, very vividly Evelyn's toilet. I mean, Evelyn's toilet. Would you ever think you would remember a toilet? But she sent me an email. I'll read it to you. "I had to laugh when you said you remembered the toilet in Nursery Street. I don't think anyone could hardly forget it. Turn right out of the back door, walk 10 paces, right again into my dad's shed, and at the end of the shed, right again, and into the toilet. As you can imagine, Mum and I hated it. You would think that they would have pulled Nursery Street down in the 60s, but instead the street has a preservation order on it. The coal cupboard at the end of the scullery was converted into a bathroom, and the whole house greatly altered now. That is what I remember, her toilet. It had a wooden seat, like the one I showed you in Agatha Christie's house. I mean, so different to mine. And her bedroom was, well, it was just like, honestly, I can see why they've preserved it. Wooden floors, and it just had an air about it that as a young girl, I really loved, because I love that sort of thing. And it got to me. We used to go around and play with her dolls and teddies. I've never been a doll and teddy girl, but I remember playing with hers. So, nice memories and very unexpected. If you remember, we moved from Harlow to Tottenham when I was 5, and that's where we're starting. Things changed when we moved to Tottenham in 1954. I was nearly 5, and I can remember arriving at our new home and feeling so excited. Dad worked for a company named BIZ, and they owned the flats. When one became vacant, it was offered to them, and as it was near work and had a park and school opposite, they were thrilled. In Harlow, I had a balcony, which gave me a view, but here we lived on the ground floor, which was even better. There were 3 blocks of flats, if you could call them blocks. Each was 3 stories high, 2 flats on each story, and they were built in a semicircle, being on the corner of 2 roads. I lived at number 13. We had a small square kitchen, a bathroom with black and white tiles, 2 small bedrooms and a sitting room. Each bedroom had a 2-bar electric heater in the chimney breast. The kitchen opened onto a huge communal garden, which was wild and unkempt. Just imagine, we had 8 horse chestnut trees, which showed their beauty throughout the year. I used to gather the conkers and take them into school for the boys to play with. I felt proud as I handed out the bulging brown paper bags, and they exclaimed, "Thanks." Out would come the string and a sharp stick to make a hole through the middle of the hardest and biggest conkers. They would be knotted on, and the game started. I always thought it pointless and painful. Somehow my fingers and thumbs always took a bashing. And I made this to put on my story roll. And here's my story roll, as you know. And here's the last one. All the little conkers, just to remind me. It's funny the things I can remember from that time, but most is forgotten. I remember the Dennises who lived in the flat adjacent, and I remember Mrs. Putnam who lived above. Her son, who was 8 years older than me, would come and visit with his family and sometimes come out into the garden. He's now Lord David Putnam, who produced many films, including Chariots of Fire. Incidentally, he lived in Southgate, which was going to be my next move when I was 10, and went to Minchenden School, which Kim, my daughter, attended for a short while. I loved living in Bruce Castle Court, so called because Robert the Bruce, who was King of Scots from 1306 to his death in 1329, and a national hero to Scotland, owned the land, but gave it up when he became king. There's a 16th century manor house sitting in the small park opposite, which is one of the oldest brick-built houses in the country. It's now a museum. I loved riding my bike, shelling peas under the trees and playing camp in the long grass. The winters were freezing cold and we often had snow, so on those days I helped Mum with the washing. She had a small machine with a wringer that folded inside. When the heavy sheets were clean, we'd yank them out with wooden tongs and catch the corner in between the rollers. They'd be put into the sink for rinsing, and then we'd wring them out again. What with the boiling water and possibility of getting my fingers crushed, it must have been a job Mum would rather have done by herself. But if I was around, there I was, willing hands. After the washing came the drying, and unless it was raining, winter or summer, it would be hung out. The next day Mum would be ironing and folding the clothes over the horse to air. The smell of the clean washing, Mum in her pinny, and the general homeliness often overcame me, and going back to school after lunch wasn't easy. She didn't go out to work, but worked very hard in the flat doing housework, shopping, looking after us and entertaining. Her diary tells us that friends were always popping in. Across the road was Bruce Castle Park, and this was my shortcut to Parkside Preparatory School, which taught children aged 5 to 11. The uniform was brown and yellow, brown skirt with crossover straps, cream viola blouse and a brown blazer with yellow badge. I loved it and wore it all the time. If we were going out for a walk or to the shops, Mum would say, "Pop your blazer on, dear." So I did. The small school was privately run and with just 4 classrooms was very welcoming. At first, Mum would come with me through the park, see me across the road, and then I'd run in, down a sideway and into the playground, which was a small rectangle behind a residential house. Mr. and Mrs. Hall lived there with their daughter. It was a detached house, sitting on a corner plot, and 4 of the rooms had been turned into classrooms. The garden in the front was theirs, but the yard at the back was ours to play in. It was only big enough to hold 1 class at a time, so playtime was just with friends. My first memory was sitting in a downstairs room overlooking a pretty garden, learning my ABC. The room was at the front of the house and had French windows which opened out onto the enclosed garden. It was a pretty country garden, and I can remember staring out quite a lot. We had red glossy covered books open at a double page of pictures. We pointed to each one of the small squares and chanted the sound of the letter and what we saw. A for apple, B for boat, C for cup, D for dog, E for egg, and F for feather. The whole class went up for fe and down for the, and then started a new line. I can see myself sitting there, chanting and being lulled by the rhythm. I can remember the book, the room, the friendliness of my teacher, but that's it for my first year. My school report said Penny seems a little weary. I wonder why. Was it because I felt overwhelmed at what I had to do? I had to try and curb my natural excitement over things and sit in a desk and conform. Classrooms were quiet and formal, not like they are now. I was often told to be quiet and not to talk. My corners were starting to disappear, teachers trying to knock me into shape. I hated this conformity and started to dislike school. The thought of having to go overwhelmed me. I don't know if you remember, but how this started was me choosing a button that represented me with my friend Sonia, and I chose this little square mother of pearl button, little square one, but just the corners had gone, and that's what was happening here, I think. Anyway, thanks for joining me for that. So it's crafting table time. Let's see what's on here. I've got my finished items for the Mousy Makes Along, or, you know, don't make me say it again. And I'm sure Helen will be showing you as well. But I finished this. So cute. And I finished this. I got the macaron done. Oh, my thimble's in it. But inside we've got the 2 mice. Well, that's nice. I must remember my thimbles in it. If I put anything away, I forget where I put it nowadays. Are you the same? Oh dear. Right, so that's that. I made something for Pete. He's got 3 pairs of glasses, and I was making this little macaron. He's so cute. But these were screaming at me out of the box. Get me out the box, get me out the box. And so I had to get them out the box. And I've made a little rug mat for Pete to put his 3 pairs of glasses on. So that's by his computer, but on his desk, and he pops one on each of those, so he knows where they are. But they just screamed at me one night. I had to get them out. So they're fun. And that's that. And then I put this. I've got my Chinwag, my little beach huts, my tree house, and now my mice that I made from the book, from the Brambly Hedge. I've got 2 pieces of fabric, and it's rather a lot of fabric that Frances sent off for, because she was so amazed that the thimble goes on, you know, and not the other hand, that she sent to America for 2 pieces of fabric. And so I'm going to make her a little something, and then she can have it for her stash, because now she's a quilter, she'll need a stash. So she came to visit last week, and this came through the post. So that is on my crafting table to do. That will stay on there until I've made her something that I feel pleased with. Just a little something, and then she can have that back for her stash. I wanted to show you this because the tablecloth I made downstairs, which I'm happy with, it doesn't need any more going with it. It sits on my dining table. Everything sits around it lovely. This is just going to be a one-off, and we'll probably sit up here actually, but I don't know yet. But anyway, that's not going to join it. The tablecloth now for me is complete, and if I want to do some more quilt as you go, well, I know what I'm going to do. I've got something in my head, but I'll show you that as and when I start it. But there was a couple of pieces, and I looked on that as I was showing you last time, and I thought, no way, I've got a line on it. Can you see that? Because I had to alter these 2 bits, and then so to show you, I drew the blue line on. I don't know if you can see it on this one so much, but believe me, it is there. Goes along there. It's just the light, isn't it? Can you see it there? And so I looked at this and I thought, giddy aunt, what's that drawn on it? But of course, it's the pen that you iron off. With the heat, it comes off. So I would only ever use that if I'm going to cut on the actual line. I would never use it and hope, because as you know, on my macaron, it has come back as well. So I'm not too happy with that. I'm not using those anymore. I just thought I'd tell you. That goes in the bit. Well, no, that goes in my scrappy pile, because there's plenty of bits that haven't got the line on. So that goes in my scrappy bowl. Right, what have I got? I've got Pete's sock, as you know, I've done one. Bunny wishes, so that needs to be done. So that is to get on with. I've got my jumper. I've started it. I've done really well with it because it's been tennis, hasn't it? And so I've been watching tennis. So this is one ball and this is the other. And this is Adriafil, Sierra, Andina. And it's lovely. It's, what is this? Alpaca Extra Fine. And I've started the Forest Light. And as you can see, it's quite a fitted jumper. It is quite fitted. I like it, but I'm toying with it being a waistcoat. Just the sleeves coming down here. I don't know. Pete says it'll look nice as a waistcoat. I've done the front and back. It's very pretty, that. Can you see? It's come out really nicely. I've washed it because I wanted to see what it would look like. Shall I put it on? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's summer. I've got plenty of wool. It's going over a dress here. What do you think? See, it'd look quite nice just with the sleeves, wouldn't it? But on the other hand, it's got these lovely sleeves with the pattern up again. Now, I've got plenty of wool, so I think I might, I don't know. Just to knit down to, you know, cast off there and have it as a little jerkin with trousers and a little blouse underneath. You can probably see it better than I can. Sleeves with the pattern there. Yes, I think I will. I'll carry on. So that's ready to do. And then Frances, she bought some wool. She can't knit. She bought some wool, but she doesn't realise, or didn't realise, she's got beautiful taste, you see, because she bought Janet Claire the fabric and she couldn't make anything, but now she can, you know, do her quilt. And she bought this ball of wool. Oh, it's beautiful. Cozy Kitchen Fibres. And this is 50% silk, 50% cashmere, I think. It's as soft and dreamy as you can get. So I said, well, you can't knit. Do you intend learning to knit? She said, no, I'm just learning to quilt. So I said I'd knit her one of my scarves that I love. And she wants it all in the one colour. I think that'll look pretty. So that's on. So I've got two knitting. Do I do the sleeves? And I'm going to knit this. And I've got Pete's other sock. That's it. Sewing wise, nothing at the minute, but there will be something because I want to do a little bit of sewing and we'll see. So that's my crafting table. Well, thank you for joining me for this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to put up a little film now, just of my week, since I saw you last, wandering down to the sea. And that's what we try and do every day. If we don't walk round to the sea, we walk the other way round the farm. But it's mostly been down to the sea because such lovely weather. It's just lovely. And I did meet a man down there who had a dog. He was cycling along with a dog on the back. So I did stop and have a chat. After all, that's what I do. I like to have a chinwag. So I've tacked him on the end. And Yeah. So I will say cheerio, and look out for me in 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe 2, but maybe 3. Who knows? I just don't know what's going to be happening. So don't worry if you don't see me for 3 weeks. But maybe, hopefully, it'll be 2. If I can think of something to talk to you about, but I'm sure I will. I have for the last 3 years. So yeah, I'll say cheerio then. Take care. You're just interested in the conversation. Look at that little tap, 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 tap.
I'm going to be going around the UK, so I'm going to go around the coast of the UK with said Trev back here.
Oh, righty-ho.
And we're going to hopefully raise money for, we'll probably do it for 3 charities actually, for Mind, for Samaritans, and my good friend who's just recently become paralysed, so we'll raise money for his rehab.
So he's going to go with you to the south of Spain, but he's got a little shoulder injury, so he's just protecting him at the minute. But he's a young old dog. Yeah. Well, not an old dog, a young dog.
He's got some good adventures ahead of him.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for talking to me.